Okay, so phase 2 has begun, and here we are. Cleansing helps us to have a better fat burning phase. And on this part of the journey, the next 3 weeks, you're going to see a little bit more protein added. This is because we want to support the lean muscle mass. There's nothing that builds muscle like protein does. And so a little bit more protein at breakfast, lunch, and dinner will help to support that fat burning machine, which is our muscle mass. In the regular directions, it does have taking a shake and as a mid-morning snack. I'd like you to hold off on that because some of the shakes are whey-based, and some people do have a tendency to retain a little bit more water when we introduce dairy at this time. There's still no sugar, syrup, sweeteners, no dairy, no grains or starches. I didn't hear anybody miss rice, and no alcohol. There's still a lot of vegetables, 8 to 12 servings, that 3 serving, which is 3 cups 3 times a day. And this, by the way, is the recommendation even for improving heart health because of the added fiber that you get with that. The fruit servings do drop to 1, and you can have that first thing in the morning. There is an edit again in your tracking sheet. Instead of having the breakfast and having the fruit as a snack, you can start with the snack. You can start with the fruit because fruit is better absorbed on an empty stomach. It does help you not get fermentation when you have a protein with it. So if you want to start with the fruit as a snack after your morning routine with the isotonics, you can do that. And then move on to your first meal. The 2 fats that are there are very important for you to feel satiated and full and not have to snack or graze in between. Just like we talked about being ready for the week with meal prep, you've got to have the day already visualized, like all the steps in terms of the meals. So just to outline again, the morning ritual includes your vitamins first thing on an empty stomach. I would encourage each of you to continue with the fiber, especially if there's further fat loss needed, there's heart health needed, or if you're not getting all 3 servings 3 times a day of the vegetables. And then the lemon water for any of you who want to continue fat loss or shredding. This is very important as it is established a very big helper for fat loss. It also alkalinizes the body. You can use a straw to help with the damage that can happen over long-term use with the animal. And so that will take care of it. And then having your meal prep, as we talked about. Skip the shakes. The fruit serving that you're having, please don't have it at night. Please don't have it at the end of the meal. Have it in the morning or at the beginning of your meal. And in terms of protein, we talked a little bit about macros, but we don't have to count these, okay? So if you're having for a woman 3 servings, 3 ounces of a protein of fish, for example, that's going to be about 20 to 25 grams. If you're interested in the grams, that's basically the parameter is 20 to 25 for women per serving. And for men, it's going to be 30 to 35. If you can get up to 40, it's even better for men. But women really don't absorb any more than 30 grams of protein per serving. It's important to space those out about 3 to 4 hours. So eat your meals. If you don't eat the snacks, skip them. Continue on the core if you can before lunch and dinner, and continue with the fiber. The reason we're still saying no sugars here is because the moment you have a sugar intake, and this could be from a small cheat, you get out of the glycemic eating that we're taking advantage of right now. The moment this happens, the fat loss is immediately halted. Because when the sugar is spiked, guess what goes up as well? Insulin. And insulin is a hormone that tells the body to store fat. And so the moment there is a sweet intake, you can count maybe 1 or 2 days before you see continued weight loss or fat loss on the scale again, because that's got to come back down. And sometimes it's a process. So take advantage of the transition that happened for you in this cleansing week so that you maintain the fat burning process here and don't get out of the fat burning zone with high glycemic foods. So one of you mentioned about, cooking foods with certain sauces. Be careful with those because they can contain things that are highly addictive in them. And even if you're eating really clean with the foods, the sauces that come prepackaged may have things in them that just make it ineffective for fat loss. And, obviously there is taste bud damage that does happen with sweets, damaging to a microbiome. But this can be reversed within a week or two. Just give it a little bit of time, fiber, and the cleansing week does help. So you are having a low glycemic impact way of eating. That's the general message for this lifestyle plan. This is designed to lower body fat and improve body composition. So the way we're going to track body composition this week is by looking at the visceral fat and starting to see if that will move 1 point. If you accomplish a visceral fat point movement, it's a great thing because it's not as easy to move the visceral fat for a lot of people. It seems to be about every 7 pounds or so, the visceral fat will move. And so it's a matter of being steady with the habits, and then it will get better. Follow the body water. If the body water is not yet at 60% or 2/3 of the body, continue to improve on that. Remember, there should be about half of your body weight in ounces of water taken each day. This is because the cells do need to be hydrated. And so you have a great measure on the Renfro scale. Do follow it up. If you're in the 30s, try to get to the 40s. If you're in the 40s, try to get to the 50s. If you're in the 50s, improve that further. And continue to measure your waist. And I mentioned the core and the fiber, your important supplements this week. For the rest of the slides, I'm going to introduce cardio to you. So this is the first time we're talking about movement. In fat loss, 90% of the work is nutrition, and you have the basics right now to continue what you started last week into next week. But for those of you who are ready to sort of turbocharge the last 15% of the work of fat loss, this is where it will happen in fasted cardio. So the leptocore, this is a paper that was published almost like a decade and a half ago, like 2010. So the supplement that you're taking is very well studied, and it is the reason that when people are consistent with it for 3 months, they do see a very drastic reduction in their body fat. Okay, it not only improves body fat, but it improves the health and the quality of the cells, reduces oxidation, which is something that can be measured. And then anybody who has metabolic syndrome, if that is taken in conjunction with something called a meta, which I suggested to you guys, it's very effective. So you are taking the appropriate dose of the core if you take it twice a day, 45 minutes before meals. For your cardio plan, I mentioned getting a Renfro for your body composition. Well, this is going to be what you use to shrink the midsection, a neoprene sweatband. A lot of times we hear about people working out, but if you don't sweat, it's a little bit tough to reshape the body. Fat has to be burnt somehow, and you can do it by breath. So your breathing technique can change. You exhale CO2, that's the fat that you're breaking down. This literally, the carbon matter that you are has to disappear from the person that you are. That's going to happen by breath, and it's going to happen by sweat. So if you do have one time a day to do 10 minutes of movement, it should be in the morning after taking your isotonics. It could be while you're sipping on your fiber, or while you're having your warm water with lemon. The reason is because when you're in a fasted state and you're moving, the body has to create some kind of energy, and it will create that from glycogen storage, either from what's left over in the liver, or if there's nothing left over in the liver because you fasted overnight and it's used up, it will mobilize fat storage to give you the energy to do that movement in the morning. So 10 minutes of high intensity or moderate intensity training or steady state movement, whatever your level of activity right now, along with the neoprene belt, is all you need right now this week to begin this process. So if you're not used to moving yet, just decide that you're going to go on YouTube and plug in a 10-minute cardio and just follow along as much as you can. Use your neoprene belt, maybe add a little bit of cocoa butter or shea butter onto the skin before you wrap the skin so that it can improve the sweat. And do this first thing in the morning. If you're lucky enough to have an additional time during the day where you can do this, the best time is post dinner. Okay. And right now I'm only recommending 10 minutes because it's really all you really need to be effective. And but if you find that you're energized and you're feeling good and you want to go for more, go for it. So a couple of cautions for starting movement for those of you who will take it up this week. Stay at your level, increase the intensity gradually, hydrate, because when you sweat, you're going to lose salt. And if you want to maintain your electrolyte balance, it's important to stay hydrated with electrolytes as well. If you tend to get headaches or cramps when you sweat a lot, this is the time to replenish with electrolytes. So again, fasted movement, 10 minutes in the day, or movement post-meal if you can't do it fasted. If you can do both, great. Shape the waist while you move. For the sweet cravings, I've mentioned before, the neem juice, the haritaki. And if you need to sip on something throughout the day because of habit, maybe instead of gum, maybe green tea. And if you do have a little bit of hunger in between your meals and don't feel like having a snack because you like your process and your progress, you can use Garcinia. Garcinia gamboja does help in between meals to curb cravings. So look for the visceral fat, get familiar with it. If it's single digits, great. See if you can decrease that. If it's double digits, just move to single. And then take a look at your body water this time and start measuring your waste. So the way you run the day is having meals ready and then doing your morning routine. Once that's done, everything else is automated. Actually, you've won the day if just that is done. The only thing we're tacking on right now is the fasted cardio. So you have the plan. I know it seems a little bit maybe simple, but it's harder to execute it. So burning fat is our focus this week, and keeping track of that through the body composition on the scale. And I'll see if you have any questions. This is going to be slow and steady. Skip the shakes. And I hope you've had a good week. And I share some tips on the Facebook page, but I'm going to be asking you guys for reviews depending on, how comfortable you are with going online. This is something that I think is helpful to others to hear from you and not from me about what you're doing with lifestyle. So I'm going to end here.